I have a couple of packages. You can probably already see that these are from, I want to say Nitorlack, which is very Finnish way of pronouncing that, or Nitorlack, however you want to pronounce that. But yeah, Jose from Nitorlack contacted me about checking out their products. And I said sure, because I've already seen Wells guitar from the Netherlands who's been using these products, and I've been curious about them as well. So I will be using these products. Packing peanuts. Not my favorite way of packing things because they're gonna get everywhere. The paints are a little bit different than what I'm used to and will be just right for this guitar. So we have some primer spray, teal green metal spray. So this is now what the color is gonna be, because we're looking for a sort of classic American car. And I had the whole idea of having like this aqua or sort of teal color. And I was suggested going with this teal metallic. And I'm looking forward to that because that's gonna be really cool. Classic white then for the accent colors, and then gloss spray to finish it all off. And we have a Nitorlack t-shirt. Teal, gloss. Anything else in here? I believe that is it. And then in the other box we have conductive shielding paint. We have some polish and cleaner. We have some compound cut, so that's for polishing up the finish. And then various different grades of sandpaper. So we have some flex pad stuff, and then finer and finer sandpapers so that we get a very nice high gloss polish out of this thing. Disclaimer, this is not a sponsored video. All my opinions will be my own. They are not paying me to use these products, but if I do like the products, I will definitely reach out to them, get in touch, because you can never have enough good spray. So let's check these out, shall we? Por ejemplo, tienes un flex pad y sandpaper 240. I don't know what that is in Spanish. I'm gonna stop with Spanish. I thought I was gonna do like a whole like Spanish bit because it's a Spanish company, but my Spanish is horrible. My Duolingo, I gave up on that after about half a year. Sorry, I couldn't come up with anything better. Funny moment when you realize that you're leaning in to come into the view of the camera and you realize that your camera wasn't actually zoomed out. So, hey, let's get sanding. There's this soft sort of background to this in the flex pad. I'm guessing that this is gonna be like a sort of like Velcro thing. So let's have a look. Does it stick on there? Oh boy, it does. Dude. Oh, that is so cool. Because I'm used to having like, you know, the sandpapers that have the foam backing on them. And it's always kind of a pity having to throw away the sandpapers after you're done with it, because then you lose a lot of the foam that you can't reuse. And some of that's not really good quality either. So let's have a look at how this works out. So this is 240 now. We're gonna do the whole guitar over. And I gotta admit, I really do like how this sandpaper cuts. Usually for like flat areas I use a block, but the foam is, or the flex pad is kind of, it is sturdy enough that the flat areas feel comfortable to sand like this without creating like divots and stuff. And of course, I'm not pressing too much, I'm letting the sandpaper do all the work. Really easy to do all kinds of shaping things. Now, getting rid of those hard edges, because hard edges and paint don't work well together. Alrighty, so at the spray booth, we're gonna do the primer layers. So we're gonna use the Nitorlack primer spray. The first coats, I'm sorry for the strobe light. Light still hasn't been fixed. So yeah, we're gonna do primer coats all over on the guitar. First ones, and I guess I'm gonna prime the 3D parts because I think putting on primer before putting on paint is probably a good way to go. So I'm gonna get everything kind of set up and move things out of the way in here, and then we'll get the spraying. The thing that I'm kind of like most excited about using these sprays is up until this point I've been using automotive sprays, or technically they're automotive sprays, and this time the Nitorlack is meant for guitars. So it is specific to guitar building, which means that the finish that I'm looking for is exactly the finish that it's much easier for me to replicate a guitar finish with a spray that's meant for guitars instead of, automotive. There's been things that I haven't really liked about previous sprays that I've had. So looking forward to having something that will do the trick moving forward. Hopefully putting an end to my search for an appropriate spray. All right, let's shake them up and get ready for spraying. Exciting times. Time to adorn the mask.
I was nothing before I put on the mask. I was born in the spray booth. You'll be able to embrace it. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into the murder room over there and get things going. I'm looking forward to this. The lighting in here has never been great. It is dusty, which is also not great for a perfect finish, but we're gonna work with what we got and see where we get. So first things first, let's start spraying the primer. Make sure all the dust is off, and yeah, gonna apply thin coats. Let's see. There's something coming out of this. It's a little spitty. I think it might be because it's a bit cold. In general, I like how it's laying down. A little bit of spatter. From my understanding, this is nitrocellulose lacquer, which is something that I'm not used to, because I've been using acrylics and polyurethane for a very long time. So this is a little new for me, but I am embracing it with open arms. God, this is really heavy to press down over the neck. It is getting better as I go. So I think the can is kind of warming up. Really need to kind of rest the arm that's holding up the guitar, but at the same time rest my finger pressing thing. It's touch dry pretty quickly. So I'm gonna go ahead and really try and aim for proper coverage all over. The thing is that if I had better light in here, I'll be kind of able to see what I'm doing a little better. Likewise, you'll be able to see what I'm doing a little better. Ah! Alright, I'm gonna put this up to dry and pick up some 3D parts here. I think just a light pass is good. The edges as well. I'm not too worried about the backside because that's not gonna get painted. But then tomorrow, so after about 12 hours, we're gonna come back and we're gonna do some more. All right, so that is all the parts now primed, and we're gonna come back tomorrow and see what's up. Yeah. Definitely gonna be a few coats.
All right, it's the next day today. Sorry that my nose is all stuffy, just came from outside and it's freaking cold out there. Next order of business is sanding this down with some 800 grit. Overall, the look and feel is pretty good. It came out rather smooth. Just a little bit of roughness to the surface, so we're gonna get that fixed up with the 800 grit now. But we've managed to fill pretty much most of the grain. Gonna do another session of primer today, and then hopefully, if all things go well, we'll move on to color tomorrow. While my workspace or work desk at home is kind of wobbly and not great, this puts it to another level. So 800 grit in between coats of whatever we're spraying. And yeah, once again, using the flex pad here so we can get into all those nooks and crannies real nice. Not a huge amount of sanding that needs to be done. Just making sure that we get all those high spots out of there to a nice uniform surface. Now, this is fairly smooth, gotta admit, and I do like the way that these sandpapers cut. And while it's still a little bit too early to kind of like tell, I do really enjoy using the sprays. I'm just gonna give the printed parts a quick once over just to kind of remove any sort of burrs or imperfections, but nothing more than that.
Same procedure as last time. Just doing the sides. Nice even light coats. And yeah, definitely something yesterday where with the temperature or something, because this feels a lot nicer to use. Still a bit heavier than a previous spray that I've used. Like the, for lack of a better term, button nozzle. Oh, God. Whew. It gets heavy after a while, I'll tell you that much. I wish I was a little more ambidextrous than I am.
Today is the first color session. So we're going to be doing the main color, which is going to be the metallic teal green metallic. And that's going to be essentially the entire guitar, save for the fretboard. Before we do that, we are going to give a scuff sand with the 800 grit again. Just taking a once over look at how things are. So hoping that the color is gonna go on pretty well today. I'm still gonna be here every day up until Sunday. It is currently Tuesday. So far, at least, looks like the primer has worked very well. We've gotten everything to a nice, smooth surface to work with here. This has been a very stress-free paint session, I gotta admit. Getting used to a kind of new way of doing things is always tricky, but I actually prefer this method. I don't need to wait around like half an hour in between layers. In between layers. I can just do a good coating of whatever I'm spraying and then come back and do the next coats the following day. And this time I remembered a microfiber cloth so I can actually remove all the dust.
Same thing as with the primer, but this time with color. And I am so looking forward to seeing what this teal is going to look like. So without further ado, let's go for it. Oh yeah, this is going to look great. Definitely going to need a few coats, or I mean a few layers of this stuff, but yeah. This is going to look fantastic. Really need to make sure that there's a little drip now. Okay, so really thin coats. Learning as I go, really. I think I got a little too much on one part there, but we'll see. I really wish the light was better in here, or that there was a light in here, because it is fairly hard to see what I'm doing. But we'll get there. Oh God, arm is killing me again. I suspect there might be a need to do a second session, maybe. We'll see. Okay, so 100% gonna need another coat. There's still some parts where you can kind of see through, especially in the neck. But yeah, it's looking pretty good, I gotta admit. The color is amazing. I can't wait to see this come together in its full glory. But now we can see that the sealer coats, the primer, went on pretty well. There's no real evidence of anything being wrong. So yeah, looking very cool. It's a very Duesenberg sort of color, I think. But yeah, that's gonna be killer with the white accents on it.
Oh, it's definitely one of the earliest times I've ever been at the workshop, but must be done. So I'm getting the second coat of paint done before work today. Now the first coat's dry, we can kind of have a look once over on things that need to be looked at. Yeah, there's a little bit of discrepancies here and there, some dust. You can still see through, but we're gonna fix that today. So there are parts like here, where you see there's a hair, I don't know, some sort of thing. Little discrepancy there and there, but we can pick those out. You can see the grain through here, but that's gonna be fine because that's gonna get blocked away today. Again, we're just gonna take the 800 grit here. But yeah, this is not gonna be any different from the other paint sessions.
all in all, turned out pretty good. There is issues with the space not really being clean, so there's some dust and particles and stuff like that that I need to get rid of. But other than that, pretty good. Once again, sorry for the blinking light, not much I can do about that. But let's hope for the best here. It's a little grainy. That's a bit better. I'll put another layer on that soon. But I'll do some of the 3D printed parts now. The white does have like a sort of a little speckled to it, but maybe that's just the first coat that looks like that. Trying not to put on too much and rather do multiple passes of very thin coats here. Alright, light coats, and we'll see how we get on.
The 3D prints came together pretty well. There is dust and stuff, was to be expected. You can't really avoid that in a place like this. Doing white is a nightmare in itself, but especially if you don't have a clean room, it is going to be difficult.
And so begin the final parts. So we're going to be doing first session of clear coat today and moving on to many more sessions of clear coat. So we're going to do three, at least three. The white itself turned out really nice. It's just little discrepancies here and there, which are, it's kind of a pain. It's not as clean of a line as I would like, but it is what it is. All right, so now we've sanded everything down, scuff sanded with 800 grit. The white parts as well. And we're going to be using the gloss from Nitorlack here. This is something I'm extremely excited about, because paints and everything like that, those I've had fairly good experiences with, but it's always the lacquer and the clear coat that kind of completely falls apart. Not physically, but it just doesn't get me the finish I want. So this is the make it or break it thing for me. But because this is made for guitars, I have a feeling that this is going to be exactly what I've always been looking for in a clear coat. So let's check it out.
And I'm sorry about the migraine light. It is annoying, yes, but also something I cannot fix. Here goes. I wish there was more light. It's laying on pretty evenly. And we're going to layer this up in the same way as before. So light layers and really taking our time with it. We don't want to rush this. And we're going to start to see it all pull together with the clear coat now. Alright, let's try the 3D printed parts before putting on another layer. Now in proper light in here as well, I can see it is going together pretty well. It's not a heavy coat, which is great. Don't want that either. I just want it to be a very nice light coat on there. I really do wish that there was more light in here, because it's very hard to see what I'm doing. I'm just going based on instinct, really. of where the layers are lining up with each other.
Clear coat's done, or first session of clear coat's done on both the 3D printed parts and the guitar itself. Now, still a little too early to tell how things are going to go down, but we just look at the sheen on there. It does look fairly promising indeed. Alright, so penultimate finishing day it is. We're going to approach it the same way that we did yesterday. So, a very, very, very light touch sand. Pick out any sort of pieces of dust, and then put on more layers.
Again, we're just going to build up those layers as we go. One coat done, or one layer done. Gonna come back and do a little more. So the way I've been going about this is that I pretty much regarded one can as one session. So I've gone through an entire can of sealer the first day, second can of sealer the second day, one can of paint the third day, one can of paint the fourth day, one can of paint the fifth day, and then every day I've gone through one of these for the entire guitar and the 3D printed parts. And that's seemed to be kind of gives me an optimal sort of finish. And then it's been at the very least 12 hours in between sessions. Not 24 all the time, but at the very least it's been 12 hours between sessions. Yeah, I've really liked it. It's given me the chance to, I can see the focus going crazy. It's given me the chance to get like a really consistent layer all the way through that I can then sand back and scuff sand for the next day. So one coat, which is to say one session, kind of goes along the same route as my usual way of doing things, which was one layer with 20 minutes in between. This is a lot faster. I don't need to do 20 minutes in between everything because everything becomes touch dry fairly quickly. So I can do the guitar, do all the 3D printed parts, then come back, do another layer on the guitar, another layer on the 3D printed parts, and then the third layer on the guitar. Whether or not I do 3 layers on the 3D printed parts, that is another thing onto its own. Like for instance today, I don't think I'm going to do any more than just what I've done now. As long as the coverage is good, which with these sprays is, you know, pretty much guaranteed.
Oh, it's the final layers or final coat of clears. Of that, I am very pleased because I'll level with you. I'm exhausted for a week straight. Just been doing this every day. So, yeah, I'm tired.
Okie dokie, here we go. Final session of clear coats. Alright, we're going to wait a little bit, then we're going to do it again, then we're going to wait a little bit, and then we're going to do it the third time. And then we're done, I think. And that's it. finished up the spray. We're done.
All right, let's have a look at you. Yeah, so everything went down pretty well. That is the last session now drying up. And yeah, now we just let her dry and come back for some polishing and assembly. I need to wait 21 days before I can do polishing on it, according to Nitorlack's instructions. So now that all the spraying is over and done with, I gotta admit, already at this point, I am immensely impressed with the quality of the sprays. And yeah, I can't wait to see what happens when I do all the polishing and how this comes to life once everything's flat sanded and polished up and looking great. I really look forward to that, seeing the end result, because these sprays were a complete joy to work with. Very easy to use and great consistent layers. The fan, I don't think I spoke about the fan at all at any point during the filming of this, but the fan was great. Coverage was amazing. So yeah, I have nothing bad to say about the sprays. They worked phenomenally well. Okie dokie, now it has been 21 days. We can get to polishing this. And oh yeah, I was a little impatient. I did the shielding paint. I'll show you in a minute. Now we're gonna get around to polishing this up. Nitorlack had sent me 800, 1500, 2000, and 3000, as well as some polishing compound, polish, and cleaner for me to try out on this. The thing that really worries me is the paint job and the clear coats didn't come out quite as well as I would like, mostly due to just, you know, there's not, like I mentioned before, yeah, poor craftsman, a poor craftsman blames his tools. But be that as it may, I can't get a sufficiently good clean finish on a guitar if there's dust flying all over the place and not proper extraction. But, you know, be that as it may, I did what I could. Not my finest spray job, but we'll try and now remedy that with flat sanding, polishing. However, I am terrified about the fact of what if I go through, because I have no more paint left and I have no more time left. So if I screw this up, then I've screwed it up and there's nothing I can do to fix it in time for the show. So we're gonna have to go about this very, very, very carefully. No pressure, right? Now, when it comes to the shielding, I already did some of it because I was impatient, but we're gonna have to put on a little bit more, a smaller second coat, I think, because there's a little parts here and there that didn't quite get covered. And besides, because I want to bring it around the edge of where the plates meet the body of the guitar so that we get a proper Faraday cage, as it were. Now, I really did like the conductive shield paint. This is a lot thicker than the stuff that I've used to, which means that it probably has a lot more graphite in it than I'm used to. It laid down pretty well. It's a very consistent sort of finish. Doesn't rub off on your hands, which is also nice because that's something that you might get with some paints where some of the pigment just kind of like lifts off, or some of the graphite lifts off, and then it gets everywhere and it smears and not good. But yeah, this was really nice. We're going to put on another coat of that after we're done the polishing, but I think I need to bite the bullet and just start testing out this this sanding. So we're going to go through 800 and then move up the grits little by little. Wish me luck. Now, usually when trying something out for the first time, you want to do it in kind of a inconspicuous area. In this case, it's going to be here because we're going to have the pick guard and stuff like this. So there's a lot that's going to be covered up. The main thing about this guitar is like you can hear that it is pretty rough. There's parts like this that are fairly okay on the sides here. That's what we're kind of looking for. But then there's parts like here where it's really rough. And those are the parts that I'm really worried about the most, because they're also on the neck, which has that little V profile. So there's a lot of hard edges. Well, not hard edges, but harder edges. So I'm gonna be very, very careful with this and not really apply any pressure. Just really let the sandpaper do the work here. And there really kind of is no turning back here. Yeah, you can always see that there's some parts that are a little higher up. So I think I'm just gonna do the top of this guitar fully, so that we can kind of like demonstrate, or I can demonstrate how the process works. And then I'll go and I'll move on to the rest of the guitar. I'll probably do that as a time lapse or something. Now you do want to get everything flat, but first I'm just going to test how this kind of works out with moving to 800 at this sort of point, whether I need to go back. Oh, cool. These are different colors. So 1500 orange. Let's see what the 2000's like. Okay. And then the 3000. Cool. Okay, so that actually helps. So everything from 240 to 800 is the blue. And then we move to different colors, I guess, so that you don't really get mixed up with what's what at this part of the polishing. So let's try what the 1500 does. I'm kind of thinking, should I have just started with the 1500? Now they do say on the website that you can do this dry, as I'm doing it now, or then with some water and soap, they said. But I'm just gonna try it with just dry paper for the time being and see how we get on. We kind of do want to get rid of all that orange peel. So you see this sort of like any sort of shiny parts, you want to kind of mat down to make sure that everything is a consistent flat surface all the way through. There's some parts of this are coming together pretty well, but I bet already at this point you can kind of hear it's not as rough. So making good progress. Let us then move on to the 2000. It's not a perfectly flat finish, but I am being very careful with this, as I don't know how thinly this finishes on there, and I don't want to go through. So yeah, quite frankly, just letting the sandpaper do the work here. I do like the feel of the sandpaper. It is very nice with the Plex pad, and it's not clogging up a huge amount. It's not leaving behind huge scratches. I mean, this paper is 2000, but in general, it seems like the consistency is a lot better than some papers I've used. And I don't feel like there's like, especially like a huge need to go and change to a new piece or new paper, even though I have plenty here that I could do that, but I don't think I need to. I will change for, you know, do the top with one piece or one paper each, and then probably switch to a different paper on the back or the sides of the neck. So each portion, let's say, will get their own piece of paper. Let's move on to the 3K. Now this is very flexible paper. I think it's very, very fine grit. And with the 3K, I think I can do the roundovers as well. I've kind of ignored them up until this point just so that I don't go through the finish. Still not applying any excess pressure. I'm letting the sandpaper do all the work here. Because immediately when you start adding pressure, so if you start pressing down really hard, you're gonna very easily create dips or go through the finish that you're sanding. All right, remove the dust and start going to look at the polish. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and use the Nitorlack compound cut for the polish. Now this is meant for kind of machine polishing, which I don't have a polisher, so I'm gonna be doing this by hand, and we'll see how we get on. Interesting consistency. So I'm just gonna use a lint-free rag here, and we're just gonna add a good bit here. So let's see how we get on with this. Now with machine polishing, you're able to get the correct sort of RPM for polishing stuff up. By hand, you're kind of at the mercy of your own elbow grease. Always checking up against the light to see how you're getting it off of there. So we do want to wipe off all of the compound. So now I just have a microfiber cloth that I'm removing all the remaining dust, making sure that it's nice and buffed up. There's a few spots here that I will probably have to go and resand, but just to kind of give a rough overview on the steps, I decided to just do the top here. Yeah, so there's parts of this that are okay, and parts of it that definitely need a little more work, but not the most mirror shine that I've done, but it's not bad. It's okay. Now you can hear, this is what we're looking for. A squeaky clean, so to speak. All right, cool. Yeah, there's plenty of scratches that I still need to get rid of, but we'll get there. This was a good trial of the product. I'll set up a time lapse and I'll go through the rest of it, and then I'll show you the final results of how we got on. Let's see if I address the top a little more in a bit. Alrighty, so next we have a little bit of streaks and everything else, so we're just gonna clean this up a little bit. The polish worked out very nice. I really like the feel and the workability of it. It was really good. A lot better than some of the other products that I've used in the past, and definitely something I'm gonna take into normal rotation. Very easy just having the one compound and then going at it. I think there is another that they offer which is a bit more deeper shine if you want that, but we're gonna go ahead and just clean off all the leftover gunk with polishing cleaner for guitars. Designed for daily guitar care. Diseñado para el cuidado diario de tu guitarra. Compatible for nitrocellulose. Nice. No silicones. Shake product before use. Apply directly on surface with a towel wipe till you avoid trails on instrument. Easy to apply. Clean, soft, and it has the gloss. It eliminates sweat, dirtiness, and fingerprints. Alright, I'm just going to use a paper towel for this. And directly on the guitar then. Don't know how much you're supposed to use, but we'll go with that. Yeah, it's getting off all that last final remaining. There's got a nice smell to it. I wonder what that smell is. I can't place it right now. Very, very pleasant aroma. Oh yeah, that's cleaning up all the leftover gunk. Real nice. You can feel there's a little bit of the polishing compound still stuck on here. And that's getting nicely rubbed away here. I can freely admit that this is probably not the greatest guitar finish that I've done. It's been in a very short amount of time that I've been doing this. But that considered, work in general, we did get a overall not horrible finish out of this thing, which is good. Right, now that everything's nicely cleaned up, we're gonna do the final little bit of shielding paint, so you see that in action as well. Essentially with the final bit of shielding paint, I just wanna make sure that I have consistency, spot fixing on where I didn't get paint the first time around. Right, and then doing this, where the screw meets the body. We get the shielding going all the way around here. The reason we're adding shield paint, for those who don't know, is to minimize electrical interference. So, hum, electronics in general. Humbuckers already, they kind of, well, they're humbuckers, so they already kind of inherently help with that. But if you were to have single coils, you would probably get a little bit of hum. So minimizing that is pretty crucial with shielding paint or like copper tape or something like this. I'm sure you've seen it. If you remove the back plate of a guitar you have, you'll probably see black paint like this, or tape or something like that. It's just to cut down on any unwanted feedback. And there we have it, the finished product right here. Everything went pretty well. I'm fairly surprised at how well everything went, all things considered, with the grain filler and everything. That didn't go quite as to plan, but all the finish itself laid down really well. The shielding paint looked and felt great to apply. The polishing compound was phenomenal, and yeah. And I gotta admit, I am extremely pleased with the Nitorlack products and will be using them in the future. So be sure to check down below in the description for a link to their products, and go check those out for yourself if you ever are looking for some paints or anything finishing supplies kind of thing to do with guitars. This is your one-stop shop to go and test those out. Gracias Nitorlack por enviarme estos fantásticos productos para probar. Thank you for sending these to test out. I am very pleased. Be sure to check out the full build video as well coming up. And yeah, let's go and play some tunes on this.